It just got very real as multiple insiders around the league are dropping shocking details on Quinn Hughes' future with the Vancouver Canucks, and some of them going as far as linking him to reuniting with his brothers in New Jersey with the New Jersey Devils. But not only that, there's some shocking details in here that could see the other two brothers on the move as well. There is a massive trade in the works. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 72% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening around the league, go down below, hit that free subscribe button, because this is the place to be for all your daily hockey content, news, breakdowns, storylines, what have you. And the season is rolling around pretty quick. But Mark, it's time to get into it. Quinn Hughes and his future with the Vancouver Canucks. It's very much up in the air, and I think that it has a lot to do with the Vancouver Canucks' success. I think that their success this coming season will dictate what happens with this player. But let's get right into some of these reports. And you can see here from Michael Russo on Quinn Hughes, the underlying elephant in the room is going to be Hughes' future for a long time. We know New Jersey is going to be trying to get him at some point. They want to reunite the brothers. And let's be honest about it, it's a lot easier to acquire one brother than it is to acquire two brothers to get them all together. So obviously, things are not in the Canucks' favor. And obviously the Canucks, and I'll throw it to you in a second, the Canucks haven't been able to put together some winning seasons recently. Of course, 2024, there was some success there, but outside of that, hasn't really been success. But this is James Myrtle on Quinn Hughes. Maybe Vancouver surprises and has a huge bounce back season that convinces their captain to stay. Feels unlikely to me, to be honest. Otherwise, they have to start contemplating what a blockbuster trade might look like. So multiple insiders are saying you either got to do something here where you're going to become a contender and fight for a Stanley Cup, or he's on the way out.
And I think the big thing is Vancouver is going to do everything in their power. Back up the Brinks truck, put a blank check, whatever it takes to get Quinn Hughes to stay with his organization. Now, looking from the Canucks side, they do have leverage. We know with the new CBA coming in, there is going to be restrictions on 7- and 8-year deals. It's going to drop. A UFA will only be able to sign for 6 years max, and a player that is rightfully owned by a team will only be able to take a 7. But with Quinn's extension, Vancouver has the leverage where they can sign the extension after July 1st next season, and that lines up perfectly, giving the last opportunity to give Quinn an 8-year deal. Now, Vancouver could go out and offer Quinn $15.5 million on an 8-year deal to lock him up, but it's going to get very interesting. I do slightly agree. The future of this team, the direction they're going in, is going to be a big part on why Quinn stays, and I want to make it very clear. I am very confident to say that he will end up staying, but it doesn't go to say 100%. There is a small sliver of chance. We know multiple people have said the brothers want to play together. Like you said, it's easier to acquire one than two, even though Quinn is the top out of the three. But the Canucks are in a situation where they're going to have a huge decision to make if Quinn doesn't sign that extension going into next year, and that lingers into deadline.
Absolutely. And we know that Quinn Hughes is probably one of the best defensemen in the history of the Vancouver Canucks, if not already that, or, on his way to being that. He's obviously the captain. He also owns the craziest, and I'll get to this in a second, the craziest JFresh chart I've seen from any player ever. Like, this looks like video game stuff. Like, it's absolutely absurd. 99 percentile in a lot of different categories, and if not 99, 98%. Absolutely insane. But we know, and like you brought up, Jim Rutherford even admitted it, that Quinn Hughes wants to play with his brothers, whether it's in Vancouver or in New Jersey. And he said that, he said it to him before that he wants to play with his brothers, and that would partly be out of our control. And obviously, you can take a look at this, feel free to pause and read the whole thing if you want, but the paraphrase, he basically wants to play with his brothers. This was from Jim Rutherford as well. And obviously he was saying that we have the cap space to offer any contract to Quinn Hughes that he would want. He also brought up, potentially going out and acquiring the other two brothers to bring them to Vancouver, because let's face it, and here's the quote as well, this franchise cannot afford to lose a guy like Quinn Hughes, their captain, one of the best defensemen in the league and that we've seen in a long time, and they will do everything that they can to keep him here. So do you think there's any world that the Canucks acquire the other two Hughes brothers? Because I think it's very obvious at this point that he wants to at some point in his NHL career, and I'm not talking about Olympics, I'm not talking about 4-nation face-offs or 8-nation face-offs or the World Cup of Hockey that's coming up in a couple of years, right? I'm talking about in the NHL. It sounds like he wants to play with his brother. So do you think there's any world where the Canucks can acquire those two guys? Because ultimately, I know your stance on it, Mark, but I think that there's a real chance that Quinn Hughes is gone and going to the New Jersey Devils to play with his brothers.
I think the biggest thing is we know Jack Hughes' contract is going to run out just after Quinn. So if we see a short deal with Quinn Hughes in Vancouver, 2 to 3 years, that lines up perfectly for the Canucks to try to poach Jack out of free agency, let Quinn stay. Then you figure out how to get Luke back on the team. But I think if the Canucks were going to go after one, Luke Hughes right now is still an RFA as we're recording this. You could offer sheet. You'd have to give him a lot. And the Canucks are kind of cap strapped at the moment with the OEL buyout, with multiple contracts signed. Elias Pettersson on a top 10 contract in the league. It's going to get interesting. I think the Canucks are going to do everything in their power to keep Quinn happy. This is making a contender. We're seeing them not go into a rebuild, going to get Marcus Pettersson with the first that they got for JT Miller. We've seen them go out, pick up a Vander Kane. They want to make a competitive team. I think Quinn is starting to notice this. There's no signs coming from Quinn himself that he wants to leave, but as a captain of the team, you're not going to hint towards that. And Jim Rutherford made it very clear in the article or in the speech that he had when he talked on probably getting the brothers, going out to do that. He said if we get into the deadline in the final year, there's no extension. We're going to have to look at our possibilities. And I do think if the Canucks get to that deadline, Quinn isn't signed and doesn't seem like he's staying, the Canucks are going to have to trade him, which would ruin this franchise.
Absolutely. And I think that if you get to, I'll echo that, if you get to a situation where Quinn does not have a contract and he can just walk and you're leading him to free agency, you'll have to make a move. You will have to look at trading that player, which I think can be very scary for the Vancouver Canucks. And I think the only way that you save this in this franchise at this point, which is crazy to say, is to acquire the other two brothers. Because again, it just sounds like Quinn Hughes wants to play with his brothers at the NHL level. And listen, you can't blame the guy. Honestly, I would want to do the same thing probably. That's a pretty cool opportunity, and not too many people get the opportunity to do that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. Let us know what you think of some of these reports in the comments from Michael Russo and James Myrtle. And let's make no mistake about it too. Last thing I want to mention here before we wrap up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, is that the New Jersey Devils, along with the Vancouver Canucks, really haven't done anything of substance the last couple of years. Let's be honest, right? Like I said, 2024 was pretty kind to the Vancouver Canucks and looked like maybe they could have went on a run, but the New Jersey Devils haven't really done anything of substance either. So I'm not trying to make it sound like Quinn is going to leave to go to New Jersey because he's going to find success there or anything like that. I think he just wants to play with his brother. So whether that's in Vancouver or New Jersey, I just think it's easier for him to reunite with both of them since they're already on that team. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Let us know how you feel in the comments about Quinn Hughes possibly leaving the Vancouver Canucks. We know that Canucks fans are going to be in shambles over that. So tell us everything in the comments. Let us know. But if you haven't yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything going on around the NHL.